High volume of SARS coronavirus air transmission can occur on luxury cruise ships with thousands passenger on board. That's what's happened on board MS Diamond Princess February 2020. One of 10 COVID patients have diarrhea. This fact can explain explosive outbreak in random places. We will now try to explain how concentrated infectious materia in a short period can transfer virus.
There's a poop bomb, poop bomb, poop bomb, there's a poop bomb, poop bomb, poop bomb, poop bomb.
Poop boom. Or, when the corona shit hit the vacuum toilet fan. Shit from COVID-19 diarrhea contain 10 million virus copies per milliliter. An infected person is breathing exhaust 3,000 COVID-19 virus copies per hour, that is roughly 1 virus per second. These facts are from scientists. When an infected person with diarrhea is flushing a vacuum toilet, there can be 1,000 milliliter of poop, each milliliter with 10 million COVID-19 viruses. To be in the same room as an infected person is obvious dangerous with an outlet of 1 virus per second, and then to be near outlet of 10 billions viruses per second must be more dangerous. Right? Vacuum toilets use air as transport and flush medium, and where goes the air? The world science community have not understood the effect of a shit explosion. This is from an old plumber who knows a lot about shit. Vacuum toilets are used on cruise ships, airplanes, and on trains. Vacuum toilets use air for transport, and there will be about 2 liters of wastewater. The flush enter the collecting tank as a spray. Vacuum pumps evacuate incoming air and the droplets swirling around in the collecting tank. 1 or 2 milliliter, or 1/1000th of the flush is exhausted from the pump's outlet pipe. There can be 10 millions COVID-19 copies flying out from the funnel of a cruising ship. On a nice day in port without wind, it's more than sure some of the droplets will hit the deck or the ventilation intake. First massive COVID-19 outbreak outside China occurred on MS Diamond Princess, February 2020, 14 death and 712 infected. 42 cruise ships have been declared infected with COVID-19. Wikipedia. Almost all cruise ships use vacuum toilet systems. The 2 big airplane manufacturers also use vacuum toilets. Not all planes are of size A380 with capacity of 853 passenger, but even normal size passenger airplanes are known to have queuing to their toilets. Droplets are emitted to the outside and will fall down, sometimes it known as blue ice. Wastewater systems in communities are open to air. On every building there are ventilation pipes and air goes out, and sometimes COVID-19 infected people have diarrhea, and then there is some risk of spreading the pandemic. That risk number? I can't tell, but it's not zero. Cities crowded with high-rise buildings will have higher risk than a rural area. A well-documented case is the 2003 SARS coronavirus type 2 epidemic in Amoy Gardens, Hong Kong. Scientists do not understand the impact of explosive influence. Their data are mean numbers collected over time, and so they are writing that what happened in Amoy Garden really didn't happen, and you should not induce fear. I think you ought to know. As the world's science community or building regulators or disease control authorities don't know iota about exploding poop, I have to explain. Shit happens. For more, see Amoy Gardens 2003.
COVID-19 is an airborne influenza quickly spread like a pandemic. Infection is found in the exhaled air from infected individuals. Infection is also measured in wastewater that has been examined, and the infection can have a high concentration in feces and urine. There are studies that show that the infection can be active for up to 14 days at low temperature. During a 2003 epidemic in Hong Kong with SARS coronavirus, WHO found that airborne infection had been transmitted 60 meters between high-rise buildings via the exhaust from a ventilation system and sewage system. That there is no discussion about this is surprising. Is it that this is a question that no one wants to hear, not see and not talk about? Could it be that opinions that stand out from the mainstream cannot be discussed? There are, of course, financial reasons, personally and corporate, to sit still in the boat, as it is the billion-dollar industries that stand and fall with control of the infection. In Sweden, no building code, no supervision from disease control or regulating authorities are to be found about wastewater ventilation from municipality sewage system. A compilation of data is provided here to consider the validity of the hypothesis. SARS-CoV infection in Amoy Gardens, Hong Kong 2003. COVID-19 eruption on cruise ship Diamond Princess February of 2020. 42 cruise ships with vacuum toilets detected with COVID-19 infection. Vacuum toilet system with direct exhaust of contagious air from cruise ships, aircrafts and trains. Municipal sewage systems, wastewater in Rinkeby, pumping stations, ventilation of sewage. Legionella outbreak in Stockholm suburbs Kista, Rinkeby, Tensta, Sollentuna 2017. Technical solutions.
The SARS corona epidemic in Hong Kong in 2003 was extensive with 299 deaths. The residential area consists of 19 high-rise buildings approximately 33 stories high. In one of the high-rise buildings, 99 people became ill, including the source of the infection, who temporarily visited an apartment on a mezzanine floor. In science writings it said that 11% COVID-infected get diarrhea, a real high number. The person had a stomach ache and used the toilet. After that, the infection spread to floors higher up, with the result that people fell ill with a delay of a few days. After another short time, people fell ill in 6 adjacent buildings. A study group from the World Health Organization (WHO) found that water traps could be emptied due to the fact that the bathroom evacuation fans created negative pressure and sucked in air from the drainage system. At the University of Hong Kong, calculations and physical tests were made which showed that the infection most likely spread further via air shaft to the roof and with prevailing wind to higher floors on adjacent high-rise buildings. The outbreaks in Amoy Garden are well documented, for example in the article in New England Journal of Medicine 2004. 60 meters for the airborne is probably not the limit for the spread of COVID-19. WHO states on its website the 20th of October 2020 regarding COVID-19 infection. Aerosol transfer can take place in specific situations, especially indoors. There is no mention, in this WHO 2020 information, of infection from sewage systems. This information is well known by scientists but as seems to be a sort of not to know, not to say, and not to tell.
Diamond Princess. 14 dead. 712 infected. COVID-19 shit was spread through vacuum pumps of the toilet system. Is this possible? In February 2020, the cruise ship Diamond Princess was quarantined in Japan. Then it was one of the biggest outbreaks of SARS-CoV-2 outside of China. The Japanese Infection Control Authority clarified that extensive infection spread had occurred before quarantine. At first they did not understood the pathway of the disease and there were chaos of what to do. Harvard's School of Public Health and the Illinois Institute of Technology showed that the spread of infection via near aerosol transfer was the predominant cause after the start of quarantine. They use simulation and calculations of science models but seems to be stunned over the fact of virus in the air though the ship's high ventilation rate, they reported. We find that airborne transmission likely accounted for more than 50% of disease transmission on the Diamond Princess cruise ship, which includes inhalation of aerosols during close contact as well as longer range. End report. There are no suggestions from these experts where these infectious virus coming from the sewage system. Probably they are not aware how vacuum sewage works. Cruise ships like the Diamond Princess with nearly 2,000 cabins can only be built with vacuum drains. The pipe system can be installed in the ceiling and does not require gravity pipelines. The picture shows the funnel and where the exhaust air from the vacuum system is led. The ship can have over 4,000 people on board and each toilet flush consumes about 100 liters of air. If everyone is using the toilet over a short period, as in the morning, it will be 400 cubic meters. That's right, 400 cubic meters. Then, on average, a person flushes 5 times a day. 1 of 10 COVID-infected get diarrhea, so there is a high probability that the air contains water droplets and aerosols containing infectious virus. Silence prevail. There must be a lot of people, mechanics and engineers, knowing about the infection risk. It's mentioned in their service manuals. Silence prevail. Shipping companies emphasize their environmental work and refer to the fact that they meet the standards for sewage discharge according to U.S. Coast Guard and IMO, the International Maritime Organization, which apply to emissions to water, not to air. Companies selling vacuum systems, Wärtsilä, Evac, Jets, rarely report on their websites the exhaust lines from the vacuum systems.